You ever hear horror stories about movers? Well, that's what we're talking about right now. Hey there, I'm Vito Scarnecchio with the Abitano Group, powered by Coldwell Banker. Today we're talking about movers, and mostly because not one of my clients, but one of my clients got affected by it, a horrible mover. So here's the story. I represented the buyers on a transaction, and the sellers needed 15 days to rent back, which is pretty normal. And when we were doing a final walkthrough, the wife, the seller, came up and said, "Oh, we got a great deal on a mover." And I've known from experience, you know, I said, sometimes these movers, they'll come back and tell you they want more, or they lose some stuff, so you got to be really careful about them. It's like, oh no, I trust these guys. And stay tuned, I'll tell you who the companies are later on. So this company quoted them $6,000 to move an entire house almost across America to Indiana. And to me, that kind of just smelled a little fishy. I was like, that didn't seem right, because typically I know it's going to be about 14, 15, 16 grand to move it. So again, this company wanted 6 grand, and moving day came and went. You know, it was a clean transaction all the way through, completely stress-free, up until the day the sellers were supposed to move out. And they came up and said, hey, we haven't heard from the movers. I'm like, okay, well, they said they got delayed and it'll be another day. So, you know, the buyers had already had that buffer in there, because when I talk to people, I make sure that we understand we have this buffer in place. And well, then they come up and say, oh, it's not going to be 6 grand, it's going to be 15 grand on moving day. Now, in my book, that's called extortion, and it's completely illegal, and they should be put in jail. But that's, you know, that's another story. When they showed up, the truck was only big enough to bring half their stuff. So the sellers are freaking out. They call my buyers, which, you know, because they've been so pleasant together, normally I'd want to make it go through the listing agent, then the buyer's agent, make sure that everybody's on board and we're all talking the same thing. Well, they called the buyers and said, oh my God, they're only going to move half. They're only going to move half my stuff, and they're going to charge me 15 grand. So this big, huge story comes up, and I'm calling and texting the other agent. We're freaking out, trying to figure out how to make this thing work for them, trying to protect them. And, you know, ultimately she's not my client, but at the same time, it's affecting my buyers, because my buyers, they were scheduled to have their house, that new house that they just purchased, fumigated. So that means they have to put a tent on the house for 3 days, which in the schedule of things, the termite company, the pest company, they accommodated, right? So that was one extra stress on my buyers. Oh yeah, so, and then to top it off, the mover said, we're so scheduled out that we're not going to be able to come back for another month to pick up the rest of the stuff. So I bet right now you're like, holy cow, those poor sellers. And I'm like, I totally agree. I feel so bad for the sellers right now. But on the flip side, my buyers, they need to move in. They terminated their lease. They gave them so many days notice, and they need to move. Number one, these movers are extorting money from these poor people, which that should be illegal. I'm pretty sure it's illegal, and they should go to jail. But, you know, again, that's neither here nor there. It screws up a lot of the timing for my clients to have to move in, right? They have to schedule the movers, they have to schedule the fumigation, they have to schedule all these other repairs before they move in, and all this got screwed up by a day. And again, we're feeling so bad for the sellers. Wound up yesterday, their friend came to grab the rest of their stuff, which was half of the stuff of their house for the last 30 years that they lived in this home, and they had to put it in storage until the movers can come back and pick it up. So if you're thinking about moving, do your research. And I'm not just talking, you know, go online and look at Google. Google's a great representation of people who do decent work and who don't do decent work. And on top of that, there's Better Business Bureau. So if you took your time and thought, you know, let's just do some quick work and research these companies, take a look at the Better Business Bureau, type in the company's name, take a look at Google, take a look at Yelp. Better yet, call your friends and ask your friends and your agent. You know, I have a list of reputable movers that I work with, and I'm very hard on my vendors. I make sure that they do the right thing for my clients, and I go through them pretty quick. And I'm always looking for better movers. But at the end of the day, if you're not taking the time and doing your due diligence and research on who's going to help you, you could be stepping into a big pile of doo-doo. And we don't want that to happen. We absolutely never want that to happen. What I realize is that there are more bad movers out there than there are good. And when you find a good one, it's better to pay a little bit more than to get screwed and be extorted. And just looking at the websites that do all this, there was like an independent mover survey company that I looked at, and they had a ton of bad remarks. If you looked at the Better Business Bureau for this company, so the first company that they contacted was Priceline Moving, and I think they were out of Florida, but they moved because I don't know. But if you look online and you look at the Better Business Bureau and on Google, you'll see that they have horrible ratings. So that should have been an indicator right there. Then I dug in and found out on Better Business Bureau and the independent moving company, it's, you know, it's just a big huge warning sign. So what happened was Priceline got the lead, and they sold the lead to Konami, just like the games, Konami Moving, and I don't even know where they are. But you look at them, and on the Better Business Bureau, they have like 54 negative complaints on them. That should have been right there, a big huge warning sign. So at the end of the day, guys, don't cut corners. Be sure you know what you're looking at. Ask around. What we're doing when we move, you know, 7-10 years from now, my intention is just to get rid of all my furniture, because at the end of the day, I can get rid of my furniture, give it to a family that maybe, you know, lost their house in a fire or what have you. Get rid of all my tools, send them to my friends, give them to my friends so that they can actually use it. And, you know, anything that's sentimental or a piece of memorabilia for me, I'm going to throw into pods and take it across the United States wherever we decide to move. But I'm not going to spend 15-16 grand to move crumpy old furniture. I'm not. You know, I've raised 3 kids, 2 dogs, a couple chickens, and not like the chickens that have ever been in the house, but the dogs have, and they destroy our furniture, and our kids destroy our furniture. And you know, it's not bad furniture, and we have some cheap IKEA stuff, but we have some nice stuff too. But at this point in our lives, we're not going to go spend $10,000 on new nice furniture. We're going to wait until they're up out of the house in college. We're going to get rid of our house and move into a smaller house and buy new furniture, and it's going to be about the same amount of money, less stress, and I'm not going to get extorted by some horrible mover that comes back and tells me that I have to give them $9,000 more. That's just highway robbery. All right, so that was my rant of the month. Actually, I haven't done a rant since I did the solar one. The next one I'm going to be doing is on heating and air conditioning, because there are some people out there that will take advantage of you as well. If you like what you saw, give me a comment down below. If you want to know more about some other stuff that you have questions about in my little neck of the world, just please give me a call. Do me a favor real quick, take 2 seconds and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also hit the like, the little thumbs up, and the little bell so you'll be notified of upcoming videos.